Hey, what's going on, guys? Very simple video for you today. We're just going to tie a very simple waltz worm. This is Pat Weiss's mustard waltz worm with his mustard dubbing from Foley Mill. It's a very basic beginner fly for anyone looking to just kind of start out in fly tying and learn some of the basics. My buddy Nick has been looking to get into it. He's been bugging me and I've been putting this off. So shout out to Nick. He's one of my very best friends in the entire world. I miss you, buddy. I love you. This one's for you. So throughout this video, I'm just going to kind of go through some very basic steps to fly tying, like starting out the fly, how to start the thread on there, how to whip finish, and how to pinch wrap, and then even kind of how to wrap or make a dubbing noodle, if I could speak, a dubbing noodle on your thread. So just some very basic stuff. I'll probably make individual videos or shorts for each little kind of tactic or technique when fly tying. I by no means am the greatest fly tyer in the entire world. I mostly just do it out of necessity for competing and guiding, making sure I can kind of keep my costs low on flies and the sheer volume and weights of flies that I use, all that jazz. But without further ado, let's just get into the tying. Alright, so we have our hook in the vise, and then to just get started, I'm going to grab my thread, pull it towards me, I'm going to take my bobbin to the hook shank, and I have my bobbin on the far side. I'm just going to hold this piece of thread here so that I can teeter these back across. Hold it tight in my left hand. I'm just going to start wrapping slowly back over top of that tight thread there. And then once I got a few wraps there, I still have this tag here. Just going to take my scissors right here, snip that off. I have a little discard bag. And then kind of standard operating procedure for most flies, especially nymphs. But pretty much every fly has a tail. Well, this one doesn't, but I'm going to take my thread back to kind of where there would be a barb, if this was a barbed hook. And then just this simple mustard waltz, we're just going to use a piece of fluorocarbon for rib. So I'm just going to bring in my fluorocarbon here. This is going to be what I'm going to rib the fly with. So in order to tie that in, I'm going to do what's called a pinch wrap. So I'm going to have the fluorocarbon, I'm going to lay it down on the shank of the hook. I'm going to bring my thread up with my bobbin. I'm going to pinch the thread between my fingers, and then I'm going to bring this back down. So if you see it, I actually have this little loop that I'm making. I'll let that go. I got this loop, and then I keep it in my fingers and I pull that tight, and now that is secured to the hook. One of the things you can do is you can always grab the material and slide it back, and then I'll just wrap over top of that. Now with this oversized bead, in order to push it and kind of keep it the way I want it to, I'm going to just kind of throw some thread wraps right behind that bead a little bit. Make sure it's sitting just the way that I want it. This is kind of the pain of fishing oversized beads on small hooks like this. And then my thread wraps are always away from me. Alright, I'll bring this back towards the barb. And then on my vise, I have this cool little material clip. So I'm just going to clip that right there. And then that's out of the way. You can just hang it there if you have enough mono. Now I'm going to take my dubbing here. I'm just going to pull a little bit out. Zoomed out, I'm going to take my thread and my dubbing. I'm going to put that little bit of dubbing there. I'm just going to take my fingers and twist that dubbing. It's kind of rolling into my fingers right along that thread. making what's called a dubbing noodle. And you're going to push it all the way to the top. Push it all the way to the top, right next to the fly there. Now that I got pushed up, I'm just going to make some wraps. Away from me, just like that. I only got about half the body, so I'll grab some more, spin it on there real quick. I'm just going to wrap that all the way up to the bead head there. If you have some extra, you can just, if there's extra here on the thread, you could just pull it down and then make a thread wrap to just overlap that. So now I'm going to grab my fluorocarbon here and just make a rib. I'm just going to grab that. And I'm going to wrap that away from me. This is just going to create some segmentation in the body here. And then to tie materials off, you're going to hold this fluorocarbon straight up. And then I come in with my left hand. And I'm just going to make a couple wraps right over top, securing that down. And then I'm going to come in here with my scissors, cut that guy there, make a couple more wraps. I left my super glue elsewhere, so normally I would put some super glue on the thread here and then make a couple more wraps over. And I would just say that's good practice, especially when you're starting. Just to ensure your durability, especially if you mess up this next part. So to finish off the fly, I'm going to do a whip finish. And I'll zoom out here in a second. I just want to throw one whip finish in, just so I'm tied off and I don't mess this up. So once you get to the top of the whip finish, I'll show you this. You're just going to go over once, twice, 3 times. Then when you get to the top here, you're going to pull that forward, let that thread come off of this part of the whip finish, pull it down, and you're just going to slide it off the needle point there. Alright, now with my whip finish, got my whip finish tool here. I'm going to come in, I'm going to hold the bobbin down, I'm going to come in away from me. I'm going to catch that line inside that hook. Then I'm going to lift my bobbin and catch that line right there in that V. And now I'm just going to twist that bobbin towards me so that I make this little 4 right here. So we're going to come out of that. I got my hook here. I'm going to hook this here towards the eye. I'm going to lift my bobbin, catch it in this little V here. I'm going to let my bobbin rotate and make that little upside down 4. And I'm just going to lift that right to the fly, go around once, twice, 3 times. I go straight up, let that bottom pop off. I pull down while it's still in the hook. I let that slide right off. I pull this tight. You don't want to pull too hard, otherwise you'll break the thread. And then you'll just snip the thread off right there. And that right there is your finished fly. If you want to pull some of these extra guard fibers off, you can, just like that. It's supposed to look pretty buggy. This is one of those flies that the more it gets eaten, the better it looks. Yeah, it's just your simple Waltz worm right there. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you guys learned something, just a very basic pattern here for you today. Hopefully do a couple more of these in the future. I'll leave the link to the description to my Etsy channel. If you don't want to tie flies, you just want to buy some of the flies that I have in my box, you can get them there. Or if you just want patterns to kind of measure proportions, that kind of jazz, something to kind of compare yours to. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thanks. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to leave in the description a link to my Etsy page where I do sell a few flies. If you are not a fly tyer and more of a fly buyer, you can get them there. Or if you're just looking for patterns to kind of either measure proportions off of your flies for something. I got a bunch of flies sitting right here on my desk. I just kind of hold up and measure proportions. I'm not always the best judge of character when it comes to abdomen length and then thorax length and all that stuff. Something that I can break down for you in one of the next videos. So also subscribe, leave a like on the video, it all helps. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.